Today we're going to be going over bad cards that actually became good. Alright, so we're going to start off with Lion's Eye Diamond. For 0 mana, we've got Sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond. Discard your hand, add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool. Play this ability as a mana source. This card, when it first came out, was complete useless bulk garbage. Did nothing. I mean, it literally just said discard your hand and add mana, and what you're gonna do with it, I don't know, activate the activated ability of some creature on the battlefield, maybe some enchantment. It literally is just a bump on the log. It has no advantage, but lo and behold, over time they came out with cards with flashback. Like, I don't want to say it took as long as Past in Flames. I honestly don't know at what point there was this bridge where this card became completely broken. But it definitely in the flashback era where you can sack it, get the mana, and then use that mana to cast spells in your graveyard made a huge improvement to this card. People started looking at this in a completely different light. Lion's Eye Diamond all of a sudden wasn't this bulk rare nonsense that it used to be. Held in the Lion's Eye. Whoa, we honestly took that diamond out of this guy's eye? No way. Happy New Year! Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's time for it's time for a wonderful coffee and MTG. So yeah, Lion's Eye Diamond once was like 30 cents, now is up to like $463 and still going because it is an excellent combo card for your stupid Storm decks. You can't play Storm, well, I mean, you can try to play Storm, but the best parts of the best decks of Storm, the best versions, are playing with Lion's Eye Diamond. We got Dem with Thespian Stage and Hex Mage until Merit Lage got printed. Really? So actually those guys came out first. I'm familiar with Hex Mage. It's Vampire Hex Mage, right? Vampire Hex Mage, black, 2/1 creature, first strike, sacrifice Vampire Hex Mage. Remove all counters from target permanent. And the main thing you'd want to use this on, it's not a bad removal spell for Planeswalkers, not terrible. Like, sure, they get one activated ability off their Planeswalker, but then if you have no chance of killing it, you just deal with it with the Vampire Hex Catcher. But not really a competitive card, not particularly useful, until they came out with Dark Depths. I always thought this came out first. Where did this first come out? Zendikar? Was Cold Snap after? When did Cold Snap come out? 2006? No, the Dark Depths was the useless card first. Yeah, these things came after. Okay, so we're gonna say Dark Depths was the bump on the log. This was, just, you know, this... I mean, look, people looked at the card. Comes into play with 10 ice counters on it. 3 mana to remove an ice counter, and when there's no more ice counters, you get a 20/20 black avatar creature token with flying named Merit Lage. Yeah, completely useless. And now it's banned! Well, how can I show you guys? Look, it's banned in Modern. Because of the fear of the 20/20. But there were 2 big innovations to make this card work. One was the Vampire Hex Mage. Whoop. Where's Vampire Hex? One was Vampire Hex Mage, which came out afterwards in Zendikar. So now all you have to do is sacrifice your Vampire Hex Mage, remove all the counters from your Dark Depths, and boom, it's online. And another one is, what do you guys say, Thespian Stage. This made it a much cleaner victory for the lands player or the Dark Depths player. All you have to do is copy the Dark Depths with Thespian Stage, and then you get a copy of Dark Depths, but it didn't enter the battlefield. It was already on the battlefield, so it doesn't get any of the ice counters, so immediately has no ice counters, and you immediately get your Merit Lage. Alright, let's... Ooh, I love both of those. Let's look at Bazaar. Bazaar of Baghdad. There we go. Bazaar Baghdad. Where's the original one? Okay, well. Not the original, but much cleaner text here. Tap. Draw 2 cards, then discard 3 cards. Jeez! That looks bad at first sight. Even a beginner to the game would look at this card and say, do you know what? This does not look worth it. It doesn't add mana. It's card disadvantage when I draw 2 cards and discard 3 cards. This is terrible. Or I don't know, maybe in some world they might say, well, maybe if I'm flooding out, it's not bad because, you know, it's better than flooding out. Or if I'm getting mana screwed, it's better than getting mana screwed. Might as well, I mean, I can't cast my spells anyway, might as well dig to the lands that I need. But then at another point, why didn't you just replace the Bazaar Baghdad with the land that you needed, huh? See, that's exactly how we should be thinking. Did Madness break this card? I mean, I think there was a lot of Madness in Vintage at the time. I'm not really a Vintage historian, so I can't say for certain. Things like, I think it's Basking Root Walla? Yes, this is a card that could actually, I'm not certain, but I think this saw Vintage play. So Basking Root Waller, green 1/1, Madness 0, but you can pay a green and 1 generic to give it +2/+2 until end of turn. So the point is, anytime that you would have to discard a card, you just discard the Basking Root Walla, and it goes in for the attacks. Dem says, regretting not buying an Eye of Ugin when it was still cheap. By the way, the #1 reason this thing's completely broken today is just dredge. So Golgari Grave Troll, the greatest troll of us all. Dredge 6. I mean, this is the main reason this card's now absolutely broken. You draw 2. You get to discard your dredgers, and you get to draw 2. So you get it's like it's like faithless looting. It's sort of a faithless looting every single turn on a land. You can have multiple of these things out. You can have multiple, just dredge through your entire deck like it's no tomorrow. I was wondering if I took a vacation. No, we're back. We're here. What is it? It's Monday, isn't it? I didn't miss a day, did I? It's Monday. What else we got here? Oh no, we mentioned Death Shadow. Death's Shadow. This was a card that people were like, wow, that's cool. Okay, we're not using this thing. And then slowly started to see play. Very, very slowly. Like, you literally have to put your life total within striking range of dying in order to make this thing work. Not to mention, like, okay, let's go through some history. This thing came out in World Wake. That was the Zendikar block. What was also in that Zendikar block? Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle. And Valakut, I think, was always a playable card. Was always playable. So if you ever put your life total low enough, you don't even really want to be putting your life total low versus a Valakut deck. But if you did, then you'll just get smoked by some Valakut decks. So Death Shadow on the forefront, not easy to make work, but over time it became part of Zoo decks because Zoo was popular with Wild Nacatl. All right, if we're playing with Wild Nacatl and we're playing 5 colors and we're like ripping our life total down anyway with Dismember and Gitaxian Probe, okay, let's play Death Shadow. Why not? And then they banned Gitaxian Probe, and then they made a better Death Shadow deck to the Death Shadow mid-range deck that we know today. Or Death Shadow aggro, Death Shadow tempo, however you want to look at it. You could be also within Lightning Bolt range. That's true. Some people still, I mean, hey, if you're a smart Death Shadow player, don't go down to 3 life. You gotta give yourself a little bit of a buffer. A little bit of buffer. Oh, and that also brings up from Michael Mishra's Bauble. This card saw actually nothing. This card, I remember, what's his name? What was the pro player? Patrick something. Pro player was experimenting with Mishra's Bauble in a Teamer Tarmogoyf deck. And no one really gave it respect. It was a Teamer Tarmogoyf deck. I think it had some delve spells. It had Hooting Mandrills. Patrick Chapin, that's the guy. So Patrick Chapin, I think, I don't know for sure, maybe he might have got inspired by somebody else, but the earliest iteration I ever saw with Mishra's Bauble was Patrick Chapin made a Teamer, like, basically Tarmogoyf deck that had some delve spells, and the whole point was that Mishra's Bubble buffed your Tarmogoyf. That little bit of extra that you'd want to make your Tarmogoyf that much better. It's 0 mana, just sack it, look at the top card of target player's library, draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. And a lot of people, well, isn't that just like a waste of space? And, you know, you're not getting the card immediately, you gotta wait for it next turn. But, you know, filling the graveyard matters. It really matters, not to mention, I think probably he pioneered the concept of, you know, basically look at the top card of your library, and if it's a good card, don't crack your fetch land. If it's a bad card, you crack your fetch land, and you make sure you get rid. You basically have a pseudo scry for the top of your library. That's where it started. Then nobody saw it for a very long time, and then the Death Shadow players started playing it because it was a great way of, again, buffing your Tarmogoyf. And also they played a very important card in the Death Shadow decks, Gurmag Angler. That started to see a lot of play. So that actually was a really great combo with Gurmag Angler. Although they didn't play Gurmag Angler in the very first iterations of Death Shadow, did they? It was just Death Shadow and Tarmogoyf. But anyway, yeah, that's a card that saw no play whatsoever. And then it started seeing a little bit of play, and then it just skyrocketed way off the charts. Way off the charts. Ugin and Eldrazi Town. Okay, that's true. That is very true. Okay, so now Ugin saw some play. It saw play in Tron. It was like a way of finding like Tron pieces or whatever, but it wasn't a big card or anything. It wasn't ban worthy. So it's a legendary land, colorless Eldrazi spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. Nobody cares about that. The 7 mana tap, search your library for a colorless creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So it helped you find your like Worm Coil engine. It helped find your... God, I don't even know what Tron used to play way back in the day. I know what they always had Worm Coil engine. They might have had like an 8 mana colorless creature that I can't think of right now. So anyway, it was seeing a little bit of play in Tron, but not big play. And then all of a sudden they made that we went back to Zendikar. We went back to Zendikar. You see, Eldrazi's used to be like 15, 10, 11, 12, 15 mana. Your cheapest Eldrazi was, I don't know, those really garbage Scion Eldrazi's. There we go. But then we went back to Zendikar. And in a bad way, where there's still Eldrazi's there. And they're cheap Eldrazi's, like a 4 mana Eldrazi. Thought-Knot Seer, 4/4, enters the battlefield. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose an online card from it and exile that card. And there's like Reality Smasher, Eldrazi Mimic. So basically, all of a sudden, your Eldrazi's can cost between 0 and 3 mana. And powerful Eldrazi's, super powerful. So this card now went busted overnight. Because you're playing like, these insane cards for almost nothing. And then we got Eldrazi Temple. This card used to be like not enough to cast your Emrakul. Like you weren't gonna play Emrakul because Eldrazi Temple existed. But now that things like Thought-Knot Seer existed, and let's get a roll call. We had Reality Smasher, 5/5 Haste Trampler. Whenever it gets targeted, you have to discard a card. Eldrazi Mimic, which was 2 mana, which could be free if you have Eldrazi Ugin in play. And you just play the Eldrazi Mimic for nothing. What else do we have? That Thought-Knot needs to get that infection check out. Yeah, absolutely. What was it? Endless one. So there's all of a sudden all these dinky tiny Eldrazi's that we played for either free or for very little. Oh, I meant the Eldrazi spawns. Yeah, the Eldrazi spawns. Those stupid the spawners. The spawners! Sadly, Fluctuator decks aren't that great. Well, whatever. Anyway, so when it was the moment that these Eldrazi's were printed, that these Eldrazi Temple and Eye of Ugin became broken overnight. Completely broken. Alright, what else do we have? Sundering Titan? Did that become big? I know this is, oh, is that what they found with Tron? Yeah, maybe that's what they found with Tron. I don't remember. They certainly didn't play it against me, because I only had like one land type. Time Vault was terrible until someone started untapping artifacts. You know what? That's what I said, but then someone said like this card was always good. Because if we look at the original Time Vault, so Time Vault came from beta, but they always had Twiddle. Like Twiddle did exist back in beta, which is tap or untap target artifact, creature, or land. But I guess that's not infinite. Like you can't go infinite like that. You can just get one turn. So I guess it's not that good. But yeah, Time Vault, completely useless, and then we invented a card called... So it comes into battlefield tapped, doesn't untap during your untap step. If you want to untap, you gotta skip a turn. Not worth it. But if you can get it untapped, it is all worth it, because you tap to take an extra turn after this one. And then they invented, what's it called? Voltaic Key. And I think they now have, and Voltaic Key was pay one, tap, untap target artifact. Well, that's great. We'll untap our Time Vault. And now we have infinite turns. Could we tap, make another turn? Voltaic Key untaps, and we just get to do this all over again. Over and over again every single turn. Infinite turns. And what, they made a better one. Manifold Key? But Manifold Key did not make Time Vault super ultra powerful. It was Voltaic Key. Voltaic Key came first. And anyway, if you want to try out any of these busted cards, they were bad, but now they're good. You know where to buy them from. FusionGamingOnline.com, my favorite local game store. The first place I go to buy my Magic cards. It's not. Is it still the Boxing Week sale? No, we got a deal of the week. Save 15% off old Tempest block singles. Oh, there's some delicious singles out there. We got Mox Diamond. We've got, I think that's City of Traders. Oh, Mind Over Matter, one of my favorites. Oh, and Humility. My brother found a Humility in some bulk the other day. But if you can't just find these cards in bulk, you know where to get them from. FusionGamingOnline.com. Save 5% off in addition to the other promotions when using coupon code Nikachu at checkout, and it supports the channel. Also gonna thank Mana Traders, the premier place for renting Magic cards online. Rent any deck you want. It's cheaper if you want to play a lot of decks. Have you ever tried buying a deck, selling it, and then buying a new one? I'm sure you have, and you realize you went to Hose Town, and you can't keep doing that if you want to play an unlimited number of decks. But it's much cheaper paying a monthly subscription when you're renting with Mana Traders. You can support the channel using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or save 10% off your first 2 months using coupon code Nikachu_P9. S. Nikachu P9 S. That's the coupon code. I'm not lying. I didn't make this up. Alright, let's get back to the broken cards. Mycosynth Lattice. Yeah, who cared about Mycosynth Lattice? Did anyone play this card before Karn the Great Creator got... I didn't even know this card existed. I literally didn't know what this card existed. So, 6 mana, all permanents are artifacts in addition to their other types. All cards that aren't on the battlefield, spells and permanents are colorless. Players may spend mana as though it were mana of any color. I didn't know it even existed. Didn't know it existed. And then they came out with Karn the Great Creator. And all of a sudden, now I know this card existed. So Karn has a static ability. Activated abilities of artifacts your opponent's control can't be activated. And you can pay the -2. You choose an artifact card you own from outside the game or an exile. Reveal that card and put it into your hand. Wow, what a deck building cost to put this one artifact in your sideboard. So you put this thing in play, everything is an artifact. That means your opponents can't cast cards anymore, because their lands are artifacts and they can't activate the abilities of their artifacts. You get completely locked down. Was the most feel-bad way to lose the game. I'm telling you. I hated it. My god. Played it in Memnarch EDH before Karn. Memnarch. Someone's trying to say, hey, it's been good before. Gain control. Oh, you. So you're gaining control of your friend's stuff. And it's also on curve. 6 mana for the Lattice, 7 mana for the Memnarch. Great stuff. 333 with the super chat. I recommend Last Laugh for EDH. What do we got going on here? Last Laugh. I am not familiar. Black, black, 2 generic. Whenever a permanent other than Last Laugh is put into a graveyard from play, Last Laugh deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. When no creatures are in play, sacrifice Last Laugh. This is a card that was very underappreciated. What's the price on Last Laugh? Last Laugh. Just out of curiosity. Oh! Look at that graph! So what made this good? Or did, like, just someone randomly find it and say, hey, this is pretty good in EDH? Like, it just came out of nowhere. Yeah, LED was mentioned. We started the show with LED. That is very odd. Whenever a permanent other than Last Laugh is put into a graveyard from play, it deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. Not sure at all what made this card good, but I will admit the card, no one cared about it until literally around a year ago. Around a year ago, and then it became something. Flash until the Protean Hulk combo. Oh yeah, Flash. Flash. Blue, 1 generic. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you do, sack it unless you pay its mana cost reduced by up to 2. So effectively, you get to play any card, and it's 2 mana cheaper because you effectively gave it Flash with a blue 1 generic. So Flash costs 2, which means your creature costs 2 less. Now, yeah, this card's useless. Who wants to spend 2 mana to give your card Flash? But then we have Protean Hulk. How old? And Flash has been around since Mirage. That is an oldie. And it lay dormant. No one cared about it. Until the day the big Hulk came around. The Protean Hulk. When it dies, search a library for any number of creature cards with total converted mana cost 6 or less, put them onto the battlefield, and shuffle your library. Not going to go over how the combo works, but the idea is you flash in the Protean Hulk, you don't spend its mana cost so that it dies immediately. You want it to die. So Flash says, put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you do, sack it, unless you pay the mana cost reduced by 2. You know what? No, I'm not going to. I'd rather not. I'd rather it dies. So it goes to the graveyard, and then, I don't know, someone in the comment section can explain how this combo works. I remember multiple times on this show, we don't know how the combo works exactly. And then, yeah, that's all I have to say. We don't know how this combo works. But rest assured, there is a way of making it work. There's a combo. There's a creature combo. You get all the stuff in play, you sack creatures, you kill your opponent. Yeah, Flash, sack Hulk, the rest is left as an exercise for the reader. Read the footnotes, people. Read the footnotes. Stifle and Phyrexian Dreadnought. This was Phyrexian. Some might say it's still bad. I will give it. I was doing a little research on 93-94 because I so badly wanted to make Illusions Donate work. Oh, that's a card that I could mention. Although it's still not really that great. Went from bad to great to bad again. So let's look at Phyrexian Dreadnought. 1 mana, 12/12 Trampler. This is like a big archetype in 93-94. Comes into play, sack any number of creatures with total power 12 or more, or bury Phyrexian Dreadnought. What kind of trade-off is that? What, am I supposed to sack a bunch of tokens? So how do we make this broken? Stifle. So when Stifle got printed, all of a sudden people started looking at the Phyrexian Dreadnought again. Is this a reserve list card? It is a reserve list card. Oh god. Hence why it's like $91. And I think tier 1 in the 93-94 format. Or sorry, not 93, pre-modern. Why am I saying it's useless in 93-94. Pre-modern. My apologies to the 93-94 format and also the pre-modern format. So pre-modern, this is like a tier 1 deck. And the whole idea is you pay 1, get it in play. It's gonna have that triggered ability when it enters the battlefield to sack like a bunch of permanents, but then you stifle it, stifle the trigger, and then you just keep your 1 mana 12/12. It's basically, I guess it's like the Death Shadow of pre-modern. The Death Shadow of pre-modern. Necropotence was cheap again until EDH. Cards that were I can't remember. I want to say Necropotence. I'm not really a historian on Necropotence because I wasn't there at the time, but I'm getting the I get the impression that it wasn't played immediately, and then someone found out it was broken, and then it was broken until it got banned, and then it like basically saw no play until EDH came around, and now it's broken again. 40 life total format? Yes, please. I don't know, hold on, let's see. Let's look at the graph of Necropotence. You can always tell a card was bad and then it was good based on the price. Oh yeah. No one cared about you, Necropotence, until... oh, very recently, actually. Maybe this card is broken, says everybody. Oh, it's really juicy now. It's a very juicy card. Necropotence was always good back then. I remember Necropotence was very good at release as well as Hecatomb. Hecatomb. I'm not familiar with Hecatomb. Okay, but they didn't ban Necropotence for eternity. Okay, one card I wanted to get to, Illusion's Donate of Grandeur. This card was garbage. I mean, you look at it, it's garbage. You can't explain. There's no way in your mind you're going to make this card good. A blue 3 generic was had a cumulative upkeep of 2, so you have to pay 2 mana, then 4 mana, then 6 mana to keep on the board. You gain 20 life when it enters the battlefield, but then you lose 20 life when it leaves the battlefield. So you're just temporarily giving yourself a band-aid. Then became broken when they printed Donate. Target player gains control of target permanent you control. So all of a sudden you gain 20 life, and then you donate it to your opponent, and then they lose 20. They have to pay the upkeep, and if they don't, they lose the 20 life. And now it's useless again. No one wants to play this deck anymore. I wanted this thing to work in pre-modern, but it seems like this isn't a deck, which is very sad to me. Truth be told, it's pretty easy to undermine with just like 1 life gain spell. Go to 21 life and the deck is gonna have to work a lot harder to win. Living End when the Cascade mechanic. Did Living End come out first? Living End also needed enough cycle creatures to make work. Let's look at the history of Living End. That's possible. Like, Living End needed a lot of things to make work, but it looks like it found a home almost not immediately. I don't know when the first Living End deck came out. I don't have no idea where these spikes are coming from, how they cheated this card into play, but it definitely saw play. I can't say for certain when it became like, I mean, okay, as I know as early as 2015, no, earlier, 2014 probably, or this card might be very, very old. I don't know when this first release was. Anyway, moving on. I'm sure the card was garbage until they discovered the combo. Lantern of Insight. What? Okay, oh, you say KCI, but Lantern of Insight. Now, truth be told, this card didn't really require a new card to make work. I think, like, the combo always existed. So, Lantern of Insight is an artifact for 1 mana. Each player plays with the top card of his or her library revealed. Tap, sacrifice Lantern of Insight. Target player shuffles his or her library. Now, I think this was like a card that was always around, and then people made it good. The comboing card is Codex Shredder. So you know how we're both playing with the top of our libraries revealed? Well, Codex Shredder has the ability of tapping to target player mills a card. Oh, so you've got a good card on top of your library? I'm going to make you mill it. And if you have multiple of these things out, oh, I'm going to make you mill that next card and make you only draw lands. Or, if you are light on lands, I'll make you only draw non-lands. And so the objective is to effectively mill you out by just shredding off all the bad cards off the top of your library. There's other ways the Lantern deck can win, but basically Lantern of Insight saw no play whatsoever until a good deck could be made out of this Codex Shredder combo. Disgusting combo. Sign of Draco after Triomes. This is a new one. I have to admit, like, yeah, this is... Actually, this hasn't been around for that long, right? A lot of people thought this was going to be big. People tried it. It was garbage. And then after... It wasn't really after... Was it really after the Triomes? I think it's a little bit more than that. It was after the Triomes, and I think the Zoo decks got a few more toys. Leyline Binding was a big one. Like, once the Zoo deck had a super solid win condition with Leyline Binding, people started looking at the Zoo deck again like, this actually might be worth playing. So, this is a somewhat new card, but it crashed and died immediately, and now it's just been brought back to life, in my opinion, to more Leyline Binding than the Triomes, because the Triomes have been around for quite a while now. Streets of New Capenna have been around for a while, or not just that, the Triomes have been around for forever. And the Kavu. Oh yeah, the what's the Kavu's name? Kavu something. What's the new Kavu? Or maybe it's not called Kavu. I don't know what the Kavu's name is. World Gorger Dragon? I'm gonna trust you here. I don't know the timeline with World Gorger Dragon. So, really bizarre creature. Flying Trample, enters the battlefield, exile all other permanents you control. When it leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. Combos off with Animate Dead. So hold on, the first version, this came in 5th edition. Didn't this thing come out first? Animate Dead came out first. Oops. So this came out in Judgment, but Animate Dead is way earlier than that. Animate Dead is like 5th edition. Actually, there's more editions than that. It came out since beta. Well, we can't say that. We can't say World Gorger Dragon was a bad card then got good. It was like Animate Dead always existed, and then Animate Dead became super good when it came out. All right, Carlos with a super chat. Thank you so much. Lion's Eye Diamond after Underworld Breach. No! Okay, we started the show off with Lion's Eye Diamond. Just flashback cards cracked this card. Underworld Breach is like a really new card. But Lion's Eye Diamond was broken all the time. It was way broken before Underworld Breach. There was a lot of different types of cards than Underworld Breach as well. Oh, we could say Grinding Station as a result of Underworld Breach. No one used Grinding Station. Yeah, Grinding Station was completely useless. Look at that price. It's like $26. Was Grinding Station on the... Did anyone care about this card? Saw it play somewhere. So people were already working on these Grinding Station decks around 2020. I have no idea where they saw play. Unless this was a card in, like, Commander that I don't know about. Obviously a card that was stone dead for eternity. Or when did Underworld Breach come out? Underworld Breach has been around for a long time. Maybe it came out right here. Maybe Underworld Breach came out right here and people are experimenting. Because this has been out for... Theros Beyond Death is like... What year was that? 2020? Yeah. So maybe this is what made Grinding Station good all of a sudden. Tarmogoyf. That's actually an interesting... Yeah, Tarmogoyf. Some people say, like, this card was always good, but the historians always say, like, nobody thought this was good. Just a small... Like, maybe it didn't take too long, but there was this period everyone thought this was a crap card on release. Just useless. And then the pro players realized, oh my god, this is, like, the most busted creature of all time. In competitive Magic. One-on-one competitive Magic. And then they started buying them all up for $1. And then lo and behold, eventually it became a $200 card because it was like just mandatory in every single deck you wanted to play. If you're playing Jund, you want to play this card. If you're playing Delver, you want to play this card. You splashed green to make sure you had your Tarmogoyfs. Grinding Station always had the Retriever combo? Oh, maybe that's true, but, like, this is just cleaner, right? Underworld Breach, I think, is just a cleaner win. Sword of the Meek. This is like turning into a show. Combo cards, their origin story. Yeah, the origin story of combo cards. Sword of the Meek. But which one came first? This came from Future Sight. So if Sword of the Meek comboed off with Thopter Foundry. Well, one of them was useless. Alara Reborn. I don't know which is first. Future Sight. Probably this one came out first. The Future Sight one. Equipped creature gets +1/+2. Equipped for 2. Whenever a 1/1 comes into play under your control, you can put Sword of the Meek from the graveyard onto the battlefield. And the combo is you sack your Sword of the Meek to Thopter Foundry to get a 1/1. So the 1/1 comes into play and you get the Sword of the Meek back from your graveyard. Basic Island and of the Pearl Trident. Avaria, for a random future prediction, Roar of Jukai after they print another Tainted Remedy, or if they ever reprint a wave of Splice support for some reason. Alright, we're gonna keep an eye on the Roar of Jukai. Triox with the super chat. Mirror Retriever / Heartless Summoning combo after Altar of the Brood. Oh, I know some of you people just love this combo. Why? Mirror Retriever. And then Heartless Summoning. And then Altar of the Brood. Whoa, Altar of the Brood is expensive. Wait, it's $6? That's crazy. That's way more expensive than I thought it would be. So you have this funny combo, Heartless Summoning. Creature spells you cast cost 2 less to cast, and creatures you control get -1/-1. Then we've got Mirror Retriever. When it dies, return another target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. I believe you need like 2 Mirror Retrievers. This is your combo you want to do. Altar of the Brood. Whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent puts the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. So you just keep looping that over and over again. Did these go up in value though? I don't know. I can't. Mirror Retriever went up nothing because it's been reprinted a million times. And Heartless Summoning is like $5, I guess. All right, who else do we have? We have Brian with the Black Lotus. Originally, it was considered bad because you could only use it once, but then we quickly learned the truth. People were divided into 2 camps, from what it sounds like. I mean, yes, initially, there's a good chunk of people are like, this is garbage. They like, dual lands suck. Where's my Shivan Dragon? I want a Serra Angel. Black Lotus sucks. It's a one-time shot, do nothing. Who cares about the Moxen? I mean, you know, who wants to play with all this mana in their deck? But the idea, I mean, the idea is if you understand how to combo with this card, that's what makes it broken. So you need the idea of how to combo. But I don't know how long it took. Some people, I think, found it out immediately. But, like, it divided the community in 2 camps. People who are trying to combo off with this card and people who are not. I was gonna say Mother of Runes back in the day. She was never bad, but I definitely felt in the minority of people who had a playset. Well, I will say with Mother of Runes, she was born in an era of broken decks. I think she was from Urza, right? Yeah, Urza's Destiny. So back then, you're playing with creatures. You're a chump. So you could say back then it was a combo. It was like the biggest combo winter of all of history. It was just combo decks versus combo decks versus combo decks, and they're all broken. So if you're playing Mother of Runes, you must be an idiot. But over time, as they banned the combo decks and became a more creature-based game of Magic the Gathering, Mother of Runes saw a lot of value. And then it came to a point where Death and Taxes had to prove itself in Legacy. Death and Taxes wasn't always around. I don't remember the original person who brought it into the limelight in the Legacy format. But eventually someone won a big legacy turn with Death and Taxes and put it on the map saying, hey, this is a real deck. It doesn't use any reserve list cards, and Mother of Runes is one of the staples to that archetype. And you were so depressed. You're playing your big, busted, broken, like, Reanimator deck. Your opponent plays turn 1 Mother of Runes, and you know you're going to lose because your opponent has, like, Caracas and all sorts of evil stuff. Elves back in the day were strong, then Elvish Archdruids started to go infinite with everything. Oh, every few months, Elves get some new card that makes it more broken. All the other creature types are like, please, wizards, we want some more. And they're just dumping everything they can on the Elves community. And they still can't get a foothold in Modern. They're great in Legacy and EDH. Dragons are better than angels. Don't tell that to newer. I don't know which one's more popular, dragons or angels. Oh, that is a good one. Inverter of Truth. Inverter of Truth. This card was useless. So, black, 2 generic, 6/6, devoid flying. When it enters the battlefield, exile all cards from your library face down, then shuffle all cards from your graveyard into your library. Then all of a sudden, Thassa's Oracle comes out and just breaks that card in half. So, yeah, this card was complete. No, oh, let's look at this. Is going to be a great graph. Inverter of Truth. You love pricing graphs, people? I love it. Oh man, that was a spec. People did spec on this card. People brag like all their Inverter of Truths that they had stored away. They're like, I know this card is a unique card. This is gonna make big money one day. Wow, look at the profit margin. You at least sold for like, I don't know, let's say $6. You bought for 65 cents, but sold for $6. 1000% return. Yeah, paradigm shift absolutely applies here as well. So very similar card, similar case. Reserve list card. Blue 1 generic. Remove all cards in your library from the game. Shuffle your graveyard into your library. I play this card in EDH, so I can like, basically, I can turn to you people. Don't mess with me. I'll turn to you. Can I turn to? Yeah, I can absolutely turn to with this. Paradigm shift into Thassa's Oracle. Thassa's Oracle, ruining the game for everyone since it was printed. Where's Thassa's Oracle? How long have you been ruining the game? Since 2020? Since 2020. 3 years ruining the game. Show and tell and or sneak attack until Emrakul came out? Is that true? Truth be told, the entire time that I've known about the show and tell deck, Emrakul has always existed. Each player may choose an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land in his or her hand and put that permanent into play. So that's an interesting card. Well, let's look at the price graph. Let's look at the history. Oh no, but this price thing only goes back as far as 2012, and Emrakul's been around since like 2010, I think. Someone said Rhystic Study until, hold on, Dan says Rhystic Study was a bad card until it was an EDH staple. That's true. That everything that was Rhystic from, what's it called? What's the set called? Prophecy? Everything from Prophecy was garbage, except this golden card, which is now $40. And it's been reprinted a million times, too. Enchantment. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1. What would you rather face, everyone? Would you rather someone just combos off on turn 1 and kills you? Or would you rather someone plays Rhystic Study on turn 1 and you lose a slow death to someone drawing a million cards? So anyway, yeah, Rhystic Study was, I mean, this is a complete nonsense card in one-on-one Magic, but in EDH, it's a powerhouse. You know you're gonna, it's like 3 mana, draw 7, effectively. Really disgusting card. Don't know if this was mentioned, but Training Grounds used to be terrible, and it still is. Does this have a purpose right now? Is this thing placed somewhere? Holy crap, it's $31! What do you people use this thing for? It did used to be terrible. Rhystic study is pauper illegal? Is it any good there? Eva says, I have a fully foiled out peasant cube, and at some point Muddle the Mixture randomly became one of the most expensive cards in it. Oh, because that's like a... Muddle the Mixture is an amazing card in EDH, because it's a tutor, right? It's a counterspell and it's a tutor. I don't understand this! Kenrith? Does that explains Training Grounds? Maybe I sold my Training Grounds. Wow, it's been slowly growing. It looks like a complete nonsense card to me. I don't want this card. Take my Training Grounds. I don't need it. No, it's not good. It's just okay. Well, that explains it for me. But I'm sure if there's enough EDH players out there playing with Training Grounds, then it's good. Oh, Mox Amber. Oh, yes. Well, Mox Amber was a super overhyped card that everyone's like, this is going to be broken. It's going to be broken. And I even thought so, too. But on the outmost release of this card, when it first got released, it was useless. No one used this card. No one could use it. It was just, there weren't enough legendary legendary creatures at 1 mana to make great use out of this card. But now we got Emery, people. Not Amory. Emery. Now we got Emery. Now we've got Ragavan. Now we have the tools to make the Mox Amber work. And now it's basically just a Mox like any other Mox. And that's broken. Super broken. Wow, it's expensive. It's at like 31 bucks now. Skull Clamp the errata made it broken? Well, it made it broken immediately, but it was never bad. Not from our perspective. What else we've got? Only 1 printing of Trading Grounds? Yeah, that'll do it. Coming to the list near you. Colossus Hammer. That's actually a good one. Colossus Hammer. There was one person trying to break... there were quite a few people trying to break this. I know Saffron Olive tried to break it. Oh, I want to give him credit. I don't remember... Because this guy has so many different usernames online, and now I can't even remember a single one that he uses. But finally, one guy did break this. Break Colossus Hammer in Modern. Made it good. Cost 1. Creature gets +10/+10 and loses flying. I can't remember what really took it over the top. It always had some tools. It always had Pure Steel Paladin. I guess it was just finding the right configuration. So Pure Steel Paladin. So you can't, like, by any normal means, you can't, like, get Colossus Hammer on a creature, right? You have to cheat it on there. Because you're not going to equip it for 8. Your Training Grounds ain't going to help you here, people. Buddies. Yeah, your Training Ground ain't not going to cut it. So you gotta really cheat it with Pure Steel Paladin, which says, with Metalcraft, equipment you control equip for 0, and also Sigarda's Aid. Was this always around? Or did they print this? They printed an Eldritch Moon. But that might have been before... They sort of came out around the same time. Oh, Stoneforge got unbanned. That actually, I think that you're right. That was the biggest enabler. That was a really, really, really good enabler. Now, the deck did exist before that because I interviewed the guy. And he was sad that Mox Opal got banned, which was one of the key cards to make the deck work. But then in exchange, they gave Stoneforge Mystic, and actually now the deck is better. So it was a really good exchange. Lose 1... Mox Opal, gain 1 Stoneforge Mystic, and now you can tutor for the card. You can also tutor for things like, what's it called? Shadow Spear, Cauldron Complete, Batterskull. Well, I guess you could have looked up Batterskull, but then you got Cauldron Complete. Yeah, so that made all those things combined. Colossus Hammer became a good card. Oh, Brian F. Mana Drain. Love that one. Mana Drain. This is a great example. This card, yeah, it really sucked back then. Thanks so much for the super chat, Brian. Mana Drain kind of sucked until Mana Burn died. So Mana Drain, blue, counter target spell at the beginning of your next main phase, add an amount of colorless equal to that spell's mana value. So for anyone that is a zoomer, us boomers back then used to play with something called Mana Burn. If you floated any mana for whatever reason, you did not spend it, it would deal that much damage to you as you went through phases and steps. So at the beginning, at our main, say I counter something with Mana Drain. Let's say it's 5 mana. I get to my main phase, and I don't spend that mana. I want to go to my attack step, or just pass the turn. It would deal me 5 damage. And at some point, I think around I don't want to say what year it came out. They basically removed Mana Burn to increase design space. They wanted you to make billions of mana and have fun with it. So they got rid of Mana Burn for that reason. And then all of a sudden, oh, Mana Drain, not too bad. This is starting to look pretty good. And also, I think by today's standards, we have more things to do with the mana once it gets to our turn, like casting Planeswalkers and colorless spells, like Karn the Great Creator, all sorts of colorless Planeswalkers and threats, Sundering Titan. I'm just like rattling off a bunch of stuff I played in Cube off of this card. So we have more big threats that we can play off of Mana Drain. So yeah, this is a card that was, it was like good. It was like good-ish, and then it just went nuts when they removed Mana Burn. Omeek with the super chat. Serra's Sanctum used to be considered bad. Serra's Sanctum. I don't know anything about this card. I know it's an expensive card. It's like 300 bucks. Tap, add a white to your mana pool for each enchantment you control. But I can't give a history on this. Was it really that bad? The graphs, people. Serra's Sanctum. The graphs never lie. I will admit, this is a little too flat for too long. What the hell put... so what was it like one of the... What pushed this over the top? Outside of crazy speculation. Was there like a Theros set that pushed it over the top? We got Ikoria here. Did they get the missing enchantment pieces? I don't know what's going on here. I think if something shakes up a format, that's good, but people need to speak up if they hate it. What the hell are you guys talking about? Welcome, Andrew. It is banned in Urza. Well, in Urza's Block Constructed, that's a huge enchantment set. Who the hell is going back to play Urza's Block Constructed? Does anyone just randomly say, hey, you want to go play Masks Block? Hey, you want to play, like, Scourge Block? So anyway. Okay, well, I'm just going to trust Serra's Sanctum. Used to be good, or sorry, used to be bad and then became good. I would say it's one of the harder cards to break. I would say, you know, Tolarian Academy is easy to break. Gaia's Cradle is easy to break. But is there one for artifacts? Like, what's the red one? No, sorry, the one for artifacts is like blue. I'm just being stupid here. What's the black and the red one? Well, whatever. We'll wait for them to get good. What else do we have here? Serra's Sanctum got nutty when Sithis was printed. The hell is Sithis? Sithis? Oh, whenever you cast... Oh, interesting. Modern Horizons might have pushed this card over the top. That's a good card. Yeah, Sithis Harvest Hand is a great card. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, gain a life and draw a card. Insane card. It's just insane. Mystic Remora was laughed at back in the 90s. Oh, it's another, like, Rhystic study. Oh, I'd love to see what the price thing on this thing was. This card still looks bad to me. I know why it's good. Like, you play it early, you draw a billion cards off of it. It's like one mana. It's like Ancestral Recall, because no one's gonna hold themselves back. But really, the table should say, hey, there's a Mystic Remora here. Can we, like, just not cast anything into this, please? Play Mana Rocks if you have to and pay the one. Or, like, you know, pay your... Not Mana Rocks. Play your... Mana Crypts if you got them. Mystic Remora... Just wait for this guy to not be able to pay the cumulative upkeep, and then they can't play it anymore. What is the price on this one? Mystic Remora. Holy moly! Look at that graph. Just outright stone garbage. And then goes out of nowhere. And they just started reprinting this thing. Yeah, that's a neat find. That's a nice find. Who found it? Was it some article writer? Was it like a YouTuber? Someone had to have found this card. Just out of nowhere. Mountain became good with the card Valakut. No, it's not 1, it's 4. And if you don't feed Commune of Upkeep, that player may pay... Oh, you have to pay 4. Oh, that's disgusting. Oh yeah, so don't play anything, please. No one play anything until this thing's off the battlefield. Whenever an opponent draws the Commune of Upkeep, tax is 1. But yeah, you have to pay 4. Who the hell is gonna do that? That big fish. Missed your super chat? I'm not gonna miss your super chat. Okay, we're gonna go back. Thank you for letting me know. Yes, Francis C. All right, thank you very much, Francis, for your super chat. Pili-pala sucked until Grand Arbiter and a careful cultivation were released, which made it possible to get infinite mana. I'm assuming you're mentioning this because you love the Pili-pala Grand Architect combo. Pili-pala. Pili-pala and Grand Architect. So which one was waiting for who? I think the Pili-pala has been around for since Shadowmoor, and then the Grand Architect comes out in Scars of Mirrodin. So the combo is Grand Architect says other blue creatures you control get +1/+1. Pay a blue, target artifact becomes blue until end of turn. Tap and untap blue creature you control, add 2 colorless mana. Hold on, don't we need 1? Oh yeah, this is so you can turn this, make this blue. You can make this blue, tap it for mana, right? How much we're tapping it for? We tap it for 2 generic, and then we can pay that 2 generic to untap it, and we get infinite tapping and untapping. But do we net anything? Pay to add 1. Oh yeah, we net when we tap this. When we untap this thing, we actually make mana. We add 1 mana of any color, so you get infinite mana off these 2 cards. A cute little combo. To be fair, anything with the untap symbol was bound to get broken the moment it got released. We should have more untap abilities. That's an interesting one. Deafening Silence? This saw immediate play in sideboards of competitive decks, but like it was just like, you know, it's another anti-storm card. I guess this is just a much bigger card in EDH, particularly in the stacks decks. What if we played this in EDH? Prevented people from playing more than 1 spell each turn. Summer Bloom was kind of trash upon release. Oh yeah. Until it got broken by Primeval Titan. Where's the original one? Visions! Oh, this is super old. This is very, 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 very old. You may play up to 3 additional lands per turn. I don't know, did this see any play whatsoever? I might be wrong. But it finally saw play when some, you know what, it saw some play but wasn't even considered broken when it was being abused with Amulet of Vigor, and like any what's it called, something chamber, water logged, no, Simic Growth Chamber. Trying to remember one of these Karoo lands. So between this and Amulet of Vigor and Summer Bloom, you could put 3 lands in play on what. So you play your Simic Growth Chamber, enters the battlefield tapped, you untap it thanks to the Amulet of Vigor, float 2 mana, play your Summer Bloom. Then you get to do this 3 more times. You get 6 mana, play your Primeval Titan. And then the card got banned. Then Summer Bloom got banned. And we didn't have to hear from this card again. Spell lighter. Meekstone. I am not talking Mishra's Weakstone here, but Meekstone can lock multiple opponents out in EDH. Is this going up in price? Maybe. 1 mana. Creatures power 3 or greater don't untap during their controller's untap steps. You know what? I believe it. I don't think this thing saw play for eternity until, like, I don't know, EDH probably made it good. No one wants this card. Unless you're afraid of big creatures in EDH. I think, well, I mean, who's mentioning Yorion? Like, everyone mentioned all the companions were bad, and then, but everyone tried every single one out, and Yorion was one of the bigger ones. So, I mean, it wasn't bad for long. It was bad for maybe a week. Because it was just bad compared to something like Lurrus. But it was it definitely saw play immediately. So what's up with Intruder Alarm? I thought this card was always, like, a niche, weird, janky combo piece. Creatures don't untap during their controller's untap steps. Whenever a creature comes into play, untap all creatures. So was this card actually bad for a long time? Intruder Alarm. I want to say this card probably slowly went up over time. I'm sort of right. It's like, when was this card bad? Then it spikes. Well, whatever. Maybe it slowly gained interest. I guess there was a point where it, like, spiked off of some newly printed cards or something. I don't know what made this card good, though. Goblins, elves, all the small guys. No need to fear Eldrazi or dragons anymore. Intruder Alarm and Elvish Archdruid. Just never. Well, no, it definitely never saw never saw any, like, good constructed and competitive constructed play. Polarity. Thank you so much for the super chat. Seance was bad until Trostani Populate was printed in Return to Ravnica. Oh my god, this card. Seance. Seance. Was it? But it's still. Isn't this card still bad? I think this card is still bad. Trostani? The Populate? Which one? Which Trostani? There's several Trostanis, right? Oh, the Populate Trostani. Okay, Selesnia's voice. Okay, what makes this card good now? Because as far as I'm concerned, it used to be like 20 cents, and it's still 20 cents. Like, that didn't change, even though that they reprinted the card. I think this is part of the cards that are bad are still bad. I need one person to stick up for Seance here. Otherwise, I'm going to say it's still bad. I don't care what small niche combo is part of. Yeah, you all remember the approach where the dude tried to pay people to play Seance? Yeah, I know. Tried to do like some market manipulation, and it worked, and it failed miserably. I got you. It's great. All right, we got one person. One person says Seance is great. At the beginning of each upkeep, you may exile target creature card from your graveyard. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a spirit. Exile at the beginning of the next end step. That's terrible. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to the creature's toughness. This card's still bad. You're gonna have to let me know in the comments section if this card is good. The scammers stood for Seance. Yeah, at the time. Seance gives you a copy that you exile, but Populate copies that token, but the exile effect isn't on the copy. Okay, that's fine. But it's still so much work to make Seance work, right? Like, you still have to get creatures in your graveyard. I think it's a hard card to make work. Anyway, I hope you love the show. I hope everyone loved it. So if you want to be part of the show, you got to be here live. Spoiler alert, I might be changing the time to Coffee and MTG to 3 hours later. Let me know how you feel about that. For people on the replay, then it might move to 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. Not saying I'm going to do anything for certain, because that makes it a little bit more awkward for me, but I might be moving the show. Of course, if you want to be here for that show, you got to show up. Got to be here. Thank you very much, everyone, for your support with the super chats. Also, everyone who's a member of the channel and also a patron on Patreon, that your support makes sure that I do not miss a day of Coffee and MTG, especially going into 2023. So thank you, and thanks to everybody who shows up here every morning. I appreciate you more than anything, because without you guys, I've got no show. You guys are the show, and I love it. It's a community-based show. It's about the community. Community this. What other buzzwords can I say? I'm running out of them. So anyway, thank you very much, everyone. Happy New Year. And as usual, keep brewing up those coffees, and we'll keep brewing up the magic. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you at the next cup.